At the entrance to the shed, Thorne stood silently, listening. He heard soft, snorting exhalations, like a quiet horse. A large animal, waiting. The sound was coming from somewhere to his right. Thorne looked over, slowly. He saw nothing at all. Moonlight shone brightly over the worker village. He saw the store, the gas pumps, the dark shape of the jeep. Looking to his right, he saw an open space, and clumps of rhododendron bushes, the tennis court beyond. Nothing else. He stared, listening hard. The soft snorting continued, hardly louder than a faint breeze, but there was no breeze. The trees and bushes were not moving. Or were they? Thorne had the sense that something was wrong, something right before his eyes, something he could see but couldn't see. With the effort of staring, he began to think his eyes were playing tricks on him. He thought he detected a slight movement in the bushes to the right. The pattern of the leaves seemed to shift in the moonlight, shift and stabilize again. But he wasn't sure. Thorne stared forward, straining, and as he looked he began to think that it wasn't the bushes that had caught his eye, but rather the chain-link fence. For most of its length, the fence was overgrown with an irregular tangle of vines, but in a few places the regular diamond pattern of links was visible. And there was nothing strange about the pattern. The fence seemed to be moving, rippling. Thorne watched carefully. Maybe it is moving, he thought. Maybe there's an animal inside the fence, pushing against it, making it move. But that didn't seem quite right. It was something else. Suddenly, lights came on inside the store. They shone through the barred windows, casting a geometric pattern of dark shadows across the open clearing and onto the bushes by the tennis court. And for a moment, just a moment, Thorne saw that the bushes beside the tennis court were oddly shaped, and that they were actually two dinosaurs, 7 feet tall, standing side by side, staring right at him. Their bodies seemed to be covered in a patchwork pattern of light and dark that made them blend in perfectly with leaves behind them, and even with the fence of the tennis court. Thorne was confused. Their concealment had been perfect, too perfect, till the lights from the store windows had shone out and caught them in a sudden bright glare. Thorne watched, holding his breath, and then he realized that the leafy light and dark pattern went only part way up their bodies, to mid-thorax. Above that, the animals had a kind of diamond-shaped, crisscross pattern that matched the fence. And as Thorne stared, the complex patterns on their bodies faded. The animals turned a chalky white, and then a series of vertical striped shadows began to appear, which exactly matched the shadows cast by the windows. And before his eyes, the two dinosaurs disappeared from view again. Squinting, with concentrated effort, he could just barely distinguish the outlines of their bodies. He would never have been able to see them at all, had he not already known they were there. They were chameleons, but with a power of mimicry unlike any chameleon Thorne had ever seen. Slowly he backed away into the shed, moving deeper into darkness. "My God!" Levine exclaimed, staring out the window. "Sorry," Harding said, "but I had to turn on the lights. That boy needs help. I can't do it in the dark." Levine did not answer her. He was staring out the window, trying to comprehend what he had just seen. He now realized what he had glimpsed the day Diego was killed. That brief, momentary sense that something was wrong. Levine now knew what it was, but it was quite beyond anything that was known among terrestrial animals, and "What is it?" she said, standing alongside him at the window. "Is it Thorne?" "Look," Levine said. She stared out through the bars. "At the bushes? What? What am I supposed to—" "Look." She watched for a moment longer and shook her head. "I'm sorry." "Start at the bottom of the bushes," Levine told her. "Then let your eyes move up very slowly. Just look, and you'll see the outline." He heard her sigh. "I'm sorry." "Then turn on the lights again," he said, "and you'll see." She turned the lights out, and for a moment Levine saw the two animals in sharp relief, their bodies pale white with vertical stripes in the moonlight. Almost immediately, the pattern started to fade. Harding came back, pushed in alongside him, and this time she saw the animals instantly, just as Levine knew she would. "No shit," she said. There are two of them? Yes, side by side. And is the pattern fading? Yes, it's fading. As they watched, the striped pattern on their skins was replaced by the leafy pattern of the rhododendrons behind them. Once again, the two dinosaurs blended into invisibility, but such complex patterning implied that their epidermal layers were arranged in a manner similar to the chromatophores of marine invertebrates. The subtlety of shading, the rapidity of the changes all suggested. Harding frowned. What are they? She asked. Chameleons of unparalleled skill, obviously, although I'm not sure one is entirely justified in referring to them as chameleons, since technically chameleons have only the ability... What are they? Sarah said impatiently. Actually, I'd say they're Carnotaurus sestri, type specimens from Patagonia, 2 meters in height, with distinctive heads. You notice the short bulldog snout and the pair of large horns above the eyes, almost like wings. They're carnivores? Yes, of course. They have the... Where's Thorne? He went into that clump of bushes to the right some time ago. I haven't seen him, but what do we do? She said. Do? Levine said. I'm not sure I follow you. We have to do something, she said, speaking slowly as if he were a child. We have to help Thorne get back. I don't know how, Levine said. Those animals must weigh 500 pounds each. There are 2 of them. I told him not to go out in the first place, but now... Harding frowned. Staring out, she said, Go turn the lights back on. I'd prefer to... Go turn the lights back on. Levine got up, irritably. He had been relishing his remarkable discovery, a truly unanticipated feature of dinosaurs, although not, of course, entirely without precedent among related vertebrates. And now, this little muscle-bound female was barking orders at him. Levine was offended. After all, she was not much of a scientist. She was a naturalist, a field devoid of theory. One of those people who poked around in animal crap and imagined they were doing original research. A nice outdoor life is all it amounted to. It wasn't science by any stretch. On! Harding shouted, looking out the window. He flicked the lights on and started to head back to the window. Off! Hastily, he went back and turned them off. On! He turned them on again. She got up from the window and crossed the room. They didn't like that, she said. It bothered them. Well, there's probably a refractory period. Yeah, I think so. Here, open these. She scooped up a handful of flashlights from one of the shelves, handed them to him, then went and got batteries from an adjacent wire rack. I hope they still work. What are you going to do? Levine said. We, she said grimly. We. Thorne stood in the darkness of the shed, staring outward through the open doors. Someone had been turning the lights on and off inside the store. Then, for a while they remained on, but now suddenly they went off again. The area in front of the shed was lit only by moonlight. He heard movement, a soft rustling. He heard the breathing again, and then he saw the 2 dinosaurs walking upright with stiff tails. Their skin patterns seemed to shift as they walked, and it was difficult to follow them, but they were moving toward the shed. They arrived at the entrance, their bodies silhouetted against the moonlight beyond, their outlines finally clear. They looked like small tyrannosaurs, except they had protuberances above the eyes. They had very small, stubby forelimbs. The carnivores ducked their squarish heads down and looked into the shed cautiously, snorting, sniffing, their tails swinging slowly behind them. They were really too big to come inside. For a moment he hoped that they would not. Then the first of them lowered its head, growled, and stepped through the entrance. Thorne held his breath. He was trying to think what to do, but he couldn't think of anything at all. The animals were methodical, the first one moving aside so the second could enter as well. Suddenly, from along the side of the store, a half-dozen glaring lights shone out in bright beams. The lights moved, splashed in the dinosaurs' bodies. The beams began to move back and forth in slow, erratic patterns, like searchlights. The dinosaurs were clearly visible, and they didn't like it. They growled and tried to step away from the lights, but the beams moved continuously, searching them out, crisscrossing over their bodies. As the lights passed over their torsos, the skin paled in response, reproducing the movement of the beams. After the lights had moved on, their bodies streaking white, fading to dark, streaking white again. The lights never stopped moving except when they shone in the faces of the dinosaurs and into their eyes. The big eyes blinked beneath their hooded wings. The animals twitched their heads and ducked away, as if annoyed by flies. The dinosaurs became agitated. They turned, backing out of the shed, and bellowed loudly at the moving lights. Still the lights moved, relentlessly swinging back and forth in the night. The pattern of movement was complex, confusing. The dinosaurs bellowed again, and took a menacing step toward the lights, but it was half-hearted. They clearly didn't like being around those moving sources. After a moment, they shuffled out, the lights following them, driving them away past the tennis courts. Thorne moved forward. He heard Harding say, "Doc, better get out of there, before they decide to come back." Thorne moved quickly toward the lights. He found himself standing beside Levine and Harding. They were swinging fistfuls of flashlights back and forth. They all went back to the store.
Hey guys, I hope you liked that video. More to come. Hey, like the video if you will, okay? And if you didn't like it, well, just please don't dislike it. But subscribe to the page because this page is amazing! Yes, because I am the Like the video, subscribe to the page. Peace be with you. Ha ha!